Hi, my name is Simone. I'm 30 years old. I only recently got divorced and boy was it messy. Allow me to tell you all about it. I met my ex-husband Nick at my best friend's wedding 8 years ago. I remember it was a sunny day and everything was perfect. I was feeling a bit lonely because everyone else had dates. But then I saw Nick. He was standing by the punch bowl looking confident and happy. He had this big smile that made me feel warm inside. He came over and started talking to me. We talked about everything, music, movies, our favorite foods. It felt like we had known each other forever. He made me laugh a lot and I felt so special. We danced together and it was like I was in a fairy tale. After my friend's wedding, Nick asked for my number. I was so excited. We started going on dates every weekend. Dating Nick was amazing. He made me feel like the most important person in the world. He was always so attentive and caring. He would bring me flowers and write me cute little notes. He was always there to cheer me up when I was sad and to celebrate with me when I was happy. I felt so lucky to have him in my life. After 3 years of dating, Nick proposed. He took me to the beach at sunset and got down on one knee. It was the happiest moment of my life. We got married a few months later, and I thought our life together would be just as perfect as our romance had been. Unfortunately, about 3 years into our marriage, Nick started changing. At first, I didn't really notice it. He seemed more distracted and spent a lot of time on his phone or computer. I remember one day I asked him what he was doing and he said he was just watching some videos. I didn't think much of it at the time, although in hindsight, I probably should have asked him more about it. I'm saying that because over time he started making strange comments. He would say things like, "A real man should get what he wants," or "Women need to look good for their men." I didn't understand where this was coming from. Nick had never talked like this before. It got worse when he started hanging out with some new colleagues from work. They were a rough crowd, always making crude jokes and talking down to women. Nick seemed to pick up their habits. He would scoff whenever he saw a woman having any sort of agency in the movies and TV shows we watched. He would force me into talking about gender politics with him. He'd tell me about how a woman's worth was only tied to her looks and how a woman's place was only in the kitchen. Of course, I was beyond uncomfortable. I did my best to talk to him about why his views were damaging and offensive, but that seemed to only fuel his opinions. He'd call me a typical snowflake feminist for having opposing views. Over time, that hatred towards women transformed into hatred for me. It started off small at first. He started coming home late and would be in a bad mood. He wouldn't even acknowledge me when he got back home, let alone talk to me. We went from talking every day to only speaking when absolutely necessary. It hurt like crazy to go through that because I was literally blindsided by this huge change in Nick. I didn't say anything because I chalked it up to him having trouble with work and let it go. I mean, whenever I tried to talk to him about his behavior, he would shut down, which is why I never pushed it. But his behavior only got worse over time. One particular day, Nick seemed like he was in an even worse mood than usual. I decided to try and talk to him again just to figure out what was going on, not only with him, but also between us. "How was work, sweetie?" "What is it now, Simone? I had a long day." I didn't say anything. I was only asking you how your day was. "Quit acting. I can tell you have something you want to talk about. You have that annoying look on your face." "Oh, I've noticed you've been coming home late a lot lately, and when you do, you seem upset. Is everything okay?" "So now you're keeping tabs on me, huh? You're being really annoying, you know that?" "I'm just worried about you. You used to tell me about your day and you used to greet me with hugs and kisses. Now it feels like you're shutting me out. Maybe I don't feel like talking to you anymore. Maybe I have better things to do than listen to your nagging. I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. I just miss how things used to be between us. Yeah, well, maybe you should try being more interesting then. Maybe then I'd want to spend time with you. I don't understand why you're being so mean. What happened to us? You know what your problem is. You're too sensitive, always looking for problems where there aren't any. Maybe if you weren't so emotional all the time, I wouldn't need to stay out late just to get away from you. I'm sorry you feel that way. I just want us to be happy again. Happiness? You think I'm responsible for your happiness? Grow up. No one's responsible for anyone else's feelings. I see. Well, I'll leave you alone then. Let me know when you're ready to talk. Yeah, whatever. I felt horrible. I didn't understand why Nick had to be so rude to me. I couldn't help but feel I did something bad to him. No matter how hard I tried to think of what I did, I couldn't come up with anything. I did everything he expected out of me, like cooking and cleaning while juggling a job. Eventually, he began insulting and belittling me at every chance he got. I was too shocked to comprehend what was going on, so I didn't say much. Nick's insults became a regular part of our life together. He was always criticizing my looks. He would tell me I looked frumpy or that my clothes were ugly. No matter what I wore, he had something mean to say. Once, when I wore my favorite dress, he said I looked fat and ridiculous. Another time, he told me I should try harder to be attractive like other women he saw. He didn't just stop at my clothes. He also made hurtful comments about my weight. He'd point out women who were thinner and say I should look like them. It hurt so much. And I started feeling really bad about myself. Even when I tried to eat healthier or work out, he would still find something wrong with me. Nick's insults weren't just about my appearance. He'd say I was annoying or that I wasn't trying hard enough to make him happy. His behavior became really hurtful, especially when it came to other women. He would openly flirt with them, even when I was right there. At parties, he would ignore me and spend the whole time chatting with attractive women. He would laugh loudly at their jokes and compliment them on their looks. Once, at a friend's barbecue, he spent almost the entire evening flirting with a young woman, acting like I didn't exist. It made me feel invisible and unwanted. When we were out in public, he would point out other women and make comments like, "Why can't you look like her?" Or, "She really knows how to dress up." It wasn't just occasional. It happened all the time. Even when we were supposed to be spending time together, like on a date night, his eyes would wander and he would make me feel like I wasn't good enough. I know what you're thinking. Simone, why did you stay with that man and not run away? Well, I had my reasons, and yes, they were stupid in hindsight, but at that time, they were very valid. At first, I stayed because I loved him so much. I remembered how wonderful he used to be when we first met. He was charming, always making me laugh and feel special. I kept hoping that the man I fell in love with would come back. I thought if I tried harder and did everything he wanted, things would get better. Another reason I stayed was because I was afraid of what people would think. We had only been married for a couple of years, and I didn't want people to see our marriage as a failure. I worried about what my friends and family would say. They all thought we were a perfect couple, and I didn't want to disappoint them. I also felt very alone. Nick had isolated me from many of my friends. He would make me feel guilty for spending time with them, saying I should be with him instead. Over time, I saw them less and less. And when I felt sad or needed someone to talk to, there wasn't anyone around. I didn't know how to reach out for help. There was also a part of me that believed his words. Nick's constant criticism made me feel like I wasn't good enough for anyone else. He would say things like, "No one else would put up with you." And after hearing that so many times, I started to believe it. I thought maybe he was right and I wouldn't be able to find anyone else who would love me. But most of all, I stayed because of hope. Every now and then, Nick would be kind and I would see glimpses of the man I married. Those moments were rare, but they made me think that maybe things could change. I hoped that if I was patient and loved him enough, he would stop being so mean. One such instance became my breaking point and enabled me to see Nick as the monster he truly was. One evening, after a particularly rough week, Nick surprised me. He came home with a soft smile, which was very, very rare to see. He greeted me happily and asked me how my day was. I will admit I was beyond confused about his change in demeanor at first. "Hi, darling. How was your day?" It was good. Did you have a good day at work too? Not really. I mean, there wasn't anything special about it. Why? Well, you seem really happy today, and it's been a while since you were like this. The thing is, I was thinking about things today, and I realized that what we really need is a vacation, just the two of us. We need to get away and rekindle our relationship. Huh? Really? You think so? Of course. I mean, it's been a while since we traveled or just hung out with you and me. I know that this will bring our relationship back to the way it used to be. I will admit that sounds wonderful. I miss the times we used to spend together. Me too. We've been so caught up with work and everything else. I want us to have some quality time, just like before. I'd love that. Where do you think we should go? Maybe somewhere with a beach? Exactly. Now you're thinking just like me. Picture us walking on the beach, dining at cozy restaurants, just enjoying each other's company. It would be perfect. It really would be. It's been so long since we did things like that. But I have a bit of a problem. What do you mean? What's wrong? I have to be honest with you. Work has been slow lately, and I've had some unexpected expenses. Yeah, I know I didn't tell you about them. I only did that because I didn't want to worry you about the expenses. I don't have the money right now to plan this vacation. Oh, I see. But then why would you bring up your idea when you know that you can't afford it? I was thinking, since you've been doing so well at work and you have some savings, maybe you could cover the cost for this trip. I promise I'll make it up to you. This vacation is a way for us to start fresh. I want us to be happy again. It's a lot of money, Nick. I'm not sure if I can afford it all on my own. I know, but I wouldn't ask it if it wasn't important to me. Think of it as an investment in us, in our future together. I want to make things right between us. I do want things to be better between us. Okay, let's do it. I'll figure out the finances. We can make this work. Thank you. You won't regret this, I promise. We're going to have an amazing time together. Of course. We're going to have an amazing time together. That's what we've always done best together. Despite knowing that we didn't really have the money for a vacation, I decided to make it happen. I started saving every penny I could. I cut back on personal expenses and worked extra hours whenever possible. I even dipped into my savings, telling myself it was worth it for the sake of our marriage. I spent weeks planning the perfect vacation. I researched destinations, found the best deals on flights and hotels, and planned activities that I thought we'd both enjoy. I wanted everything to be perfect. I booked a beautiful resort by the beach and arranged for a romantic dinner at a fancy restaurant. I even bought some new clothes, hoping to look nice and impress Nick. The day finally came and I was so excited. I had done everything myself, but I was happy to do it if it meant we could be close again. We arrived at the resort and at first things seemed great. Nick was in a good mood and we spent the first day exploring and enjoying the sun. I felt a flicker of the old us, the happiness we used to share. But it didn't last. By the second day, Nick's old habits returned. He started criticizing my clothes, saying they weren't pretty enough for a vacation spot like this. He pointed out other women and said I should try to look more like them. It hurt, but I tried to stay positive because I thought that we were going to slowly work on our relationship. Things only got worse by the pool. Nick stared at other women and made comments about their bodies and clothes. He would loudly ask me why I couldn't look like the attractive women in bikinis. Everyone would stare at me, and I even caught a few people snickering at me. I felt embarrassed and hurt. I couldn't believe he was humiliating me so much at a time when he promised me to be better. But that wasn't all he did. Nick began flirting openly with other women. He'd talk to them, make them laugh, and compliment how they looked. Some of them looked uncomfortable, but Nick didn't seem to care. He kept flirting even when they tried to walk away. It was humiliating. A few women even came up to me and gently warned me about Nick's behavior. They told me that my husband was trying to cheat on me and was making other women uncomfortable. I can't even begin to tell you how ashamed and small I felt. It felt like everyone was watching and judging me. And the worst part was that I wasn't even the one in the wrong. Every time I tried to talk to Nick about it, he ignored me. He'd say I was overreacting and that he was just being friendly. But I knew it was more than that. He was disrespecting me, and it hurt a lot. I felt like I was losing myself, always trying to meet his impossible standards and handle his constant criticism. One evening at the hotel bar, he was flirting with another woman. She looked uncomfortable and kept looking at me. I managed to drag Nick away from the bar, and I snapped. "Nick, what in the world do you think you're doing? Why are you flirting with that woman? She looks so uncomfortable." "Oh, come on, you're overreacting, or maybe you're just jealous of all the attention other women are getting. Anyway, I was just being friendly with that lady there." "Friendly? Nick, you bought her drinks and told her which room we were in. You've been flirting with women since we got here. It's embarrassing. And how could you? Do you even care about how this makes me feel? Maybe if you weren't such a bore, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere for some fun. You're always nagging and whining." "That's not fair. Every time I speak, you tell me I'm whining or nagging you. I didn't even say anything the entire time this vacation because I was trying to make this vacation special for us. And even though you treated me like garbage, you have no reason to say that I'm whining or nagging, and you definitely have no reason to flirt with other women. Why are you doing this to us?" Oh, poor Simone, always playing the victim. Maybe if you put in a little effort to look good and be interesting, I wouldn't have to talk to other women. "I can't believe you're saying this. You're my husband. You should respect me, not insult me and flirt with other women right in front of me." "Respect? You haven't earned my respect. You just whine and complain. I need to fulfill my needs somehow since you won't." Oh, wow. How can you be so cruel? I've done everything I can to make you happy. I even paid for this whole vacation with my emergency savings just so we can try and fix things between us. "Yeah, because you felt guilty. Don't act like you're doing me a favor. You should be grateful I even agreed to come." You literally begged me to go on this vacation. Besides, what do I have to be grateful for? For being humiliated and treated like I don't matter? Oh, please stop being so dramatic. If you can't handle it, maybe you should just stay in the room and leave me alone. Maybe I will. You're a horrible husband and even more horrifying person. Don't act like you're any better than me, you selfish brat. You'd be the most boring person on this planet without me. You should be grateful that I even look your way. You know what? I can't do this. I'm not going to stay here and be disrespected any longer. Fine by me. More fun for me without you around. Nick's words cut through me like a knife. It wasn't just the words themselves, but the cold, indifferent way he said them. It was like he didn't care about me at all, like I was nothing to him. In that moment, I realized our marriage was over. No matter what I did, it would never be good enough for him. He cared more about himself than our relationship. That night, after he went to sleep, I couldn't stop thinking about what he said. I felt so hurt, so worthless. I tossed and turned in bed, trying to make sense of everything. Finally, I made a decision. I quietly got up, packed my bags with shaking hands, and booked a flight back home early the next morning. I didn't want to confront him again. I just needed to get away from him and the pain he was causing me. Leaving was both terrifying and liberating. Only after I sat on the plane did I let myself finally cry about the end of my relationship and marriage. I kept replaying Nick's words in my mind, and each time they cut deeper. I wanted everything that happened in the last year to be one big joke. But even if it was, I knew that no joke was worth making me feel the way I felt. I knew that I couldn't stay with someone who treated me so badly, who made me feel so small and insignificant. I also knew that I couldn't let someone who made me feel that way get away so easily. Once I got back home, I immediately canceled Nick's ticket back home. If he wanted to come back home, he could figure his way back without using my money. I also withdrew all the money from our joint account that I had put in, which was more than half of the entire amount. Whatever was left in there was definitely not enough to buy a plane ticket back home, but it was enough to support him for a good week. I also called the hotel to let them know that I had checked out of the hotel and asked them to transfer the charges to Nick's card. The next thing I did was talk to a divorce attorney and start the filing process for divorce. I also contacted all of our family members and told them all that Nick and I were getting a divorce. I outlined all the reasons for the divorce, and I provided them with the proof that I had gathered over the years. Needless to say, nobody was happy to learn about Nick's true nature. I got a lot of love and support from not only my family, but Nick's as well. Just as I was starting to feel better and at peace, Nick called me. It was a week after I'd come back from the vacation, and even though I knew he would call, I didn't want to pick up. He kept calling me, and eventually I got really annoyed, so I picked the call up. Simone, what in the world's going on? I tried to check my bags in online, but my ticket has been cancelled. The hotel says my card isn't working. They're saying I can't stay here unless I pay now. What did you do? I took out most of the money from our joint account. I cancelled your ticket too. Why would you do that? How am I supposed to get home? How am I supposed to pay the hotel? You hurt me, Nick. Your behavior on this vacation was awful. You flirted with other women right in front of me. You treated me terribly, all while knowing that the only reason you were even on that vacation was because I paid for the entire thing. I don't think it was fair to me that I had to feel like crap the entire time while you got to enjoy yourself. That's no reason to leave me stranded. You're crazy. Fix this now. No, I won't fix it. You crossed the line. You made me feel worthless and humiliated. And now you need to learn what that feels like too. Oh, so this is your revenge. Leaving me stuck here with no way home. Real mature. Call it whatever you want, but this is me standing up for myself. I deserve respect. I won't put up with your mistreatment any longer. All right, you're right. I treated you horribly and I should have been kinder to you. I should have treated you with more respect. I'm sorry, okay? Just send me some money so I can pay for the hotel. I'll figure out the ticket later. I just need to get out of here. Not only is your apology insincere, but it's also late. Your apology will not take away all the hurt you've made me feel. I'm not sending you any money. Figure this out yourself. What am I supposed to do now? I'm stuck here. I don't have any money. Luckily for me, that's not my problem. Maybe you should think about how you treat people. Your actions have consequences. Simone, please, just tell me what to do. I can't stay here like this. Find a pretty woman to fulfill this need of yours. Isn't that what you told me? Maybe one of them will help you out. You're heartless. How can you do this to me? Would you look at that? The pot calling the kettle black. What are you even saying? Can you be serious for 1 second of your life? All you ever do is be annoying. How can I not look at other women when you behave like this? Goodbye, Nick. Simone, don't hang up. Simone. Hanging up that phone was the best thing I ever did for myself. A part of me did break a little when Nick apologized, because Nick barely apologized. But Nick's apologies were nothing but hollow sounds to me now. I had heard enough apologies from him that never led to any real change. I knew I couldn't go back to him, not after everything he had put me through. It was empowering to finally stand up for myself, to take control of my own life again. I heard from a mutual friend that Nick struggled to find a way back home. He had to scrape together money from wherever he could. He couldn't contact a lot of his family members because they were all disgusted with his true nature and wanted nothing to do with him. He ended up borrowing from whatever few friends he has left and somehow managed to convince his parents to pay off his hotel bill before they cut off contact with him. He also eventually managed to buy a plane ticket and get back home. This entire ordeal was a stark contrast to how he used to live. Always being in control, always having things his way. This time, he was forced to get on his hands and knees and beg people to help him. People who would have readily helped him out earlier turned their backs on him, all because of his own actions and words. When Nick finally returned to our apartment, he found it empty. I had taken all my belongings and left. It was a difficult decision to make, but I knew I couldn't stay in a place that held so many painful memories. The lease was ending in a week anyway, and I don't want to prolong the inevitable. The divorce proceedings were tough. Nick tried to manipulate and guilt-trip me, as he had done throughout our marriage. He tried to make me feel like I was to blame for everything that went wrong. But I had documented his abusive behavior, his constant criticism, his flirting with other women, his hurtful words, and I used it to my advantage in court. I had support from friends and family who witnessed his behavior firsthand, and with their encouragement, I stayed strong and resolute. Despite his attempts to delay and complicate the process, I was able to finalize the divorce quickly. The judge saw through his tactics and ruled in my favor. It was a relief to finally be free from him, to no longer have to endure his toxic behavior. After leaving Nick and finalizing the divorce, my life started to improve in ways I hadn't imagined. I focused on myself, on healing and rediscovering who I was outside of that abusive relationship. I surrounded myself with positive influences, friends who uplifted and supported me. I pursued my interests and hobbies with renewed passion, reclaiming the parts of myself that I had lost during my marriage. On the other hand, Nick's life took a downturn. Without me to support him or enable his behavior, he struggled to adjust. He continued to reach out to me, trying to manipulate his way back into my life, but I remained firm in my decision. I knew I deserved better, and I wasn't going to let him drag me down again. I heard through the grapevine that he faced financial difficulties and struggled to maintain stable relationships. His arrogance and disrespect continued to push those around him away from him. I will admit that seeing him alone and suffering made me feel a bit better. He was finally getting what he deserved for torturing me for years. In the end, leaving Nick was the best decision I ever made. The whole journey to where I am today wasn't easy, but it was necessary for my well-being and happiness. I learned that I'm strong and resilient, capable of standing up for myself and creating a better life. I am grateful for the support and love that helped me through that challenging time, and I'm proud of how far I've come since then.